Welcome to this morning's Focus. Today we're taking an in-depth look at 20 years of conflict in Kashmir. Kashmir, that mystical territory nestled in the foothills of the beautiful, sprawling Himalayas. Yet the beautiful landscape hides decades of old, raw wounds. The state of Jammu and Kashmir is situated in the heart of a deeply contested zone, bordered awkwardly by China, Pakistan and India. Now, despite having a 77% strong Muslim population, Jammu and Kashmir is actually administered by India. Now, the region has been the centre of 3 conflicts between Pakistan and India since the two gained independence from the British. The first Kashmir War was in 1947, the second in 1965, and the third in 1999. Now, for the past 2 decades, though, Indian authorities have been locked in a battle against full-scale insurgency in Kashmir. Nationalists have been bitterly fighting for their independence ever since, notably under the factional leadership of the JKLF, the Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front, demanding a referendum be held at least to legitimise their bid for secession. Now, in later years, though, the rebel ranks were swelled by a number of Islamic fundamentalists using the Kashmir arena to wage global jihad, with militants taking their message well beyond the Kashmiri boundaries, as 2008's Mumbai attacks, for example, served to demonstrate. Now, this a two-pronged insurgency, therefore, that is believed to have cost the lives of some 50,000 people over the years. Well, 20 years on, 20 years in, Hans Venkat travelled to Srinagar to meet with some of the nationalists who had fought then for their independence. But before we show you Hans Venkat's report, let's go to correspondent Vikram Singh, who joins us now live from New Delhi. Vikram, if I could ask you then, first of all, how easy was it to film this report?
It was actually quite a difficult story to film for many reasons. The 2 major challenges that we faced was the first one was actually convincing people who had participated in the militancy to speak to us. Now, these are very sensitive issues, and Kashmir today, 20 years on, still remains a very tense region. These are men who have been repeatedly interrogated. They claim that they've been tortured. So to actually get them to speak in front of a camera was quite a challenge. The other major challenge was actually filming on the ground in Kashmir, in Srinagar, because there were scores of protests across the city. There were multiple incidents of clashes between protesters and police, and parts of the city were completely inaccessible to us. So filming on ground was actually quite a challenge as well.
OK, now, Vikram, obviously this conflict has been raging there for 20 years. 20 years on, there has in recent times been a sort of lull in the numbers and the death tolls. But the conflict, of course, is still rife. From the people you spoke to, from what they said, what would explain this drop, then, in the violence?
I think amongst the Kashmiri families, the people that we spoke to, there's this great sense of there being a fatigue with this conflict. People are tired of the continuing fighting between the security forces and the militants. And an entire generation of Kashmiri men have sort of, been lost to this conflict. So each family in Srinagar has in some way been affected by this conflict. And I think they're tired of the continuous losses of life, a way of life as well that has been lost. And there has been a change in sentiment. I don't think there is as much support for militancy anymore. The Kashmiri people, they recognize that they do benefit, at least economically, by remaining with India. And I think the latest the poll figures, which showed that 62% people participated in the latest elections, show that there is a greater appetite amongst the Kashmiri people for the Indian model of democracy.
OK, Vikram Singh talking to us there from New Delhi. Thank you very much for that, Vikram. We've heard there from the correspondent. Let's watch this report.
This is a part of Srinagar that Ghulam will never forget.
Look over there. Put your camera down. They're looking at us. This place is full of intelligence agents.
In January 1990, Ghulam participated in an attack against the Indian security forces, which left 4 policemen dead. The authorities have never successfully identified the attackers. That's why even today, Ghulam doesn't want his face to be filmed.
You can see over there the electricity pole and the wires hanging from it. That's where the army's vehicle was parked. We came running and opened fire. It was our first attack. People came running out, the mosque turned on their loudspeakers, and people were singing songs for independence. We were overjoyed with the support of our people.
As we leave, the hostility in the streets is palpable.
Go away!
20 years after the insurgency began, Srinagar still feels like a city under siege. Young Kashmiri Muslims continue to defy the Indian authorities. Their goal is simple: to rid Kashmir of Indian soldiers, of which there are believed to be nearly 700,000 in the region.